Great to have you with us today, folks. Rush Limbaugh at 800-282-2882 and the email address lrushbaugh@eibnet.com. All right, this ISIS stuff. One of the things that I like to do here, it's become somewhat of a pattern. Whenever there is big news of the moment that involves the president, it could be pretty much anybody, I like to go back and time and try to find quotes from people that are at variance from what they are saying at present, just to illustrate the hypocrisy and just to illustrate that maybe we ought not just blanketly trust what people are saying at any given moment, because it'd be interesting to find out what they've said in the past. And I did that with Obama today on both ISIS and Islamism and militant Islamism and so forth. As you know, the regime and the drive-by media are making it clear today that ISIS is not Islamist. They have nothing to do with Islam, in fact. They're just making that up. They're just saying, they just put Islam in their name, and they not in Obama's, they're not a state, and they're not Islamic. And, of course, the State Department's modus operandi is to refer to ISIS as extremists in the name of Islam. Because come hell or high water, we're not going to consider these people to be Islamists. And, of course, we have the accompanying audio sound bites today, the drive-by media going out and finding people to concur that we got a sound bite from CNN, for example. Christiane Amanpour talking to some recently escaped prisoner from ISIS. And she asks him, well, what did they talk about? What did these ISIS guys talk about? And this escaped prisoner says, they never once talked about Islam. They never once talked about Muslims or any of that. So Christiane Amanpour says, see, they have nothing to do with Islam. And every day it's a daily assault on our common sense. Every day they try to insult our intelligence and tell us that what we know isn't so. Whether it's about the economy, whether it's about Obamacare, whether it's about terrorism, whether it's about ISIS, whether it's about militant extremism and whatever it is, every day they try to tell us what we don't know. So I went back, and I have here a Washington Post story from January 27, 2014. It was an interview that Obama gave, and I am not sure, because all I have is excerpts. I'm not sure who conducted the interview. First name was David. This was the time, this is the interview, January 27, 2014. This is when Obama referred to ISIS as the JV team. I mean, just a year ago. Now, here today, ISIS is the worst thing on earth. ISIS is the absolute meanest bunch of guys on earth. ISIS is the most dire, consequential threat we in America face today. And every other free nation in the world, the greatest threat ever is ISIS. Just a year ago, Barack Hussein referred to them as the JV team, January 27, 2014. So here's just the relevant excerpts from this story a year ago. Question, you know where this is going, though. Even in the period that you've been on vacation the last couple of weeks, in Iraq, in Syria, of course, in Africa, Al-Qaeda is resurgent. And it was talking about ISIS. Or ISIL, depending on how precise you want to be. And Obama's response was this. Yes, but David, I think the analogy that we use around here sometimes, and I think it's accurate, is if a JV team puts on a Lakers uniform, it doesn't make them Kobe Bryant. I think there's a distinction between the capacity and the reach of a bin Laden and a network that is actively planning major terror plots against the homeland versus a bunch of jihadists who are engaged in various local power struggles and disputes, often sectarian. So just a year ago, ISIS, we're not even supposed to take them seriously. No, this is a JV team. Come on, let's not get all worked up about this. And then whoever is interviewing Obama here, might be David Ignatius, I don't know, he says, Mr. President, that JV team just took over Fallujah. Obama says, I understand that, but when you say took over Fallujah, and the Washington Post reporter says, and I don't know for how long, and now here's the money quote, here's Obama. But let's just keep in mind Fallujah is a profoundly conservative Sunni city in a country that, independent of anything we do, is deeply divided along sectarian lines. And how we think about terrorism has to be defined and specific enough that it does not lead us to think that any horrible actions that take place around the world that are motivated in part by an extremist Islamic ideology is a direct threat to us or something that we have to wade into. So 1 year ago, ISIS was the JV team, and they were also extremists in Islamic ideology. 1 year ago, they were extreme Islamists. Extremist Islamists JV team. Today, they're the worst terror group on earth, but there's nothing Islamic about them. Now, this is what I mean by every day we get up, and those of us who pay attention to all this have to deal with our intelligence being wantonly, purposely insulted. Everybody knows this is an Islamic group. Anybody with half a brain knows that their roots are Islamic, their inspiration is Islamic, their motivation is Islamic because their ideology is Islamic, and Obama even admitted it last year. But something has happened between 1 year ago and today. They've moved from the JV team, the absolute worst bunch of terrorists on earth, threatening virtually everybody. But, however, they are no longer Islamic extremists. No, they're extremists in the name of Islam, and that's not Islamic extremism. But even a year ago, Obama was admitting who they were. So what changed? What has happened here that has made Obama and his administration hell-bent on trying to tell us that this terror group has nothing to do with Islam? What is that about? I find it contradictory. I find it hypocritical. And I find that, if you go back and look at this stuff from a year ago, probably we had a more honest peek. We were treated to a more honest peek of what Obama really thinks than anything we're getting now. He probably really thought they were the JV team. Remember, nobody had even heard of them. There were Islamists, they were ISIL, they were the Khorasan group. That name, by the way, was made up by the regime. And I'll tell you what drives a lot of this is Obama was running around after we killed bin Laden claiming that we had vanquished al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda was not a serious threat anymore, remember? That was part of the 2012 presidential campaign. We had vanquished al-Qaeda. We had beaten al-Qaeda. Obama single-handedly killing bin Laden, got rid of al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda was no longer a serious threat. Then all of a sudden this ISIS bunch pops up, starts just wreaking havoc all over the world, and all of a sudden now they can't be al-Qaeda. No, that won't work because Obama got rid of al-Qaeda. We defeated al-Qaeda. So they invented the name the Khorasan Group, and that lasted for a couple days until some researchers figured out there was no such thing. It was a totally made-up name. There was no Khorasan Group. It's a geographic region. And the Obama national security people, just in a political mind, had made it up. So they were the JV team a year ago, and they were also motivated by extremist Islamic ideology. I mean, that's right on the money. But not today. And I find this all in a way fascinating if you're interested as I am in discrediting these people as often as is possible. And clearly this does it. Now there's a AP story that I don't know, I find somewhat comical simply because of the way AP has reacted to it. UN agency is investigating photos showing ISIS distributing its food. The ISIS guys have gone out and stolen a bunch of UN food, and they're distributing it, and they're getting all the benefit from it. They're made to look like the good guys, the compassionate. They're feeding the hungry, and it's UN stock. The UN's World Food Program says it's extremely concerned about images circulating on social media showing Islamic State labels affixed to its food aid boxes in Syria. It said in a statement Monday, it was still trying to verify the photos, but they appear to have been taken in the northern Syrian village of Deir Hafer. which was last reached by the World Food Program on August 5th when a convoy delivered 1,700 food rations, which is enough to feed 8,500 people for a month. The World Food Program, UN, said it learned in September that ISIS members raided Red Crescent warehouses in the village where the rations may have been stored, and then they issued a statement. The World Food Program condemns this manipulation of desperately needed food aid inside Syria. What a shock, huh? What a shock. The ISIS guys stealing UN food and then distributing it and getting all the credit for compassion, love, devotion, helping the hungry and the thirsty and all that. And never mind, this is a tactic that has been used by bad guys for decades without a murmur from the media. Bad guys around the world have been stealing UN relief packages and passing them out on their own to get credit from people inside wherever the bad guys are working, to make themselves appear to be the Robin Hoods. But this time, the UN is upset, issuing statements, and the AP shocked. How could anybody be like this? Why would anybody want to deny the UN the credit here? I mean, it just... I don't know, folks. The ISIS threat is serious and it's real, and we're losing to them. We're losing to them, in part because a year ago, Obama referred to them as the JV team. We're losing to them because Obama politically can't afford for them to be seen as very serious, because they are a branch of Al-Qaeda, and we beat Al-Qaeda. You know, we ended Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda ceased to exist. Anyway, that's that. There's more to it. Audio soundbites as well. Lots to do on the program today. Looking forward to it all, as always, and we'll continue right after this. Don't go anywhere.